It's time for Let's Talk About It PSP, a public service program here on the Highway Gospel Highway 11. Sit back and relax while we share issues and answers and just all around information that's going to help you here on Philly's first all gospel music station, 1110 AM, Gospel Highway 11. It's time for Let's Talk About It PSP. Good afternoon, Fred Bling with you here on the Highway Gospel Highway 11, and it's another edition of Let's Talk About It PSP, when we talk about issues and situations and things like that are going on in our community. Not only that, we try to get ourselves some answers. And this afternoon, we're talking with Cynthia Hayward, and she's going to be sharing with us some important information about the U.S. Postal Service. Good afternoon. How are you doing today?
Fine.
Good. So you want to share with us today about what's going on in the Postal Service. We say welcome to Let's Talk About the PSP. Okay, so what's happening?
Well, what's happening is that Staples and the U.S. Postal Service has cut a deal that jeopardizes your mail service in your local post office. In fact, most post offices across the country are at risk, along with thousands of good jobs.
Really?
Yes.
What's going on?
Well, the Staples deal will replace full-service U.S. post offices with postal counters in Staples stores that are not staffed by U.S. postal employees. And as consumers, you have a right to a post office staffed by workers who are accountable to you and the American people. You have a right to postal services that are provided by highly trained, uniformed postal service employees who are sworn to safeguard your mail, whether it's at a post office or at a Staples.
Okay, so it sounds like they're going to, close down post offices and just, you take your mail to Staples?
Yes,
But then I heard about Staples were probably going to go out and just be on an online service. So what's going on with all of that?
Well, let's talk about Staples. I'll start with them. Staples had cut a deal, like I said, with the USPS Postal Service. We had our former postmaster, Pat Donahoe, along with the Board of Governors, cut a deal with Staples. Staples right now, we're in the process of closing 225 of their stores because they are having battles with customers with Amazon.com because a lot of more people are purchasing more of their office supplies online.
Yes.
So what the deal was, if we put the retail counters inside the Staples stores, then we're going to lure these customers into our stores and perhaps they're going to buy our laptops, our iPhones, and so forth. So Staples was looking at it, we're struggling, so this is probably going to be a good deal that people come into our stores, do their mailing. But the downside to it is that they haven't gone through a background check. They have not taken a sworn oath for the sanctity of your mail. So Staples is not in it because they want to be in the mail business. Staples is in it for the bottom dollar.
I understand. If you're just joining us, your dial is set at 1110 AM, Gospel Highway 11. Fred Bling with you. It's Let's Talk About It PSP. We're talking with Cynthia Hayward, and she's talking about the U.S. mail service is not for sale and how Staples is trying to have you come to Staples to mail your letters and your packages, and it's not going through the Postal Service. And the Postal Service we've known been trusting for a long time.
239 years.
Wow.
The post office has been in existence, and not to brag, but we have the best postal service in the world. You know, our clerks, when they are want to become a sales and service associate, we have to go through 40 hours of training, intense training, out of like a binder that has 26 modules. If you are unsuccessful in passing that training, then you are not qualified to be a sales and service associate. Now, if you do pass your training, then you're required for 40 hours more training. And the upside about it is that once you have completed that training, you have still another experienced person working alongside of you. Whereas Staples, they're not receiving the training. They're underpaying their employees because they're making low wages, which means they're going to have a high turnover. They're only making like $8.55 an hour, and they couldn't care less about the mail. The mail is not being safeguarded. So I believe if something were to happen to your letter, that Staples is not going to be looking for your mail.
How about that? How are they going to track it down?
Yeah, they don't care about tracking down the mail because they're not in the mail business. They're in the bottom dollar business. So
if a person mails a letter from Staples, per se, And where does it go from there? Is it still connected to the Postal Service?
Okay,
or?
now this is what's going on also. As of like January the 5th, we lowered the standard of mail in order to accommodate businesses like Staples. And whereas your mail, that you would come into a post office and you would mail your letter,
Yes.
your letter would be canceled, it would be sorted, it would be dispatched, and it would be back out the following day.
Yes.
Now the letter will be canceled and it'll be sorted, but that mail is going to sit until the following day, and it's not going to be dispatched until, say, the day after that. So if you start on Monday, that letter's not going to go out until Wednesday, because they lowered the standard first class mail and your overnight delivery services, which is going to impact your medicine being delivered, your church bulletins,
Wow.
your invitations, your online purchases, and so forth. So it affects everyone with this deal that the USPS has cut with Staples.
How can people do something about this? Or can people do something about this?
Well, people can. Right now, they have a new House resolution that's taking an aim at, about what's going on about delaying the mail. And you have representative, I believe his name is Tonko. He's a Democrat, and there's a representative who's a Republican. His name is McKinley. And they express that they want to express the sense of the House is that the Postal Service should take all appropriate measures to restore the services standards that were in effect as of January 11th. So what they're saying is that you can call your representative and to co-sponsor the House Resolution 54 bill. Now, on our website, apw.org, you can go to New House Resolution, and there's something you could click on there, and you put your zip code in, and it'll have a list of your representatives, your senators, and that to make it easier for you to locate. And you can let these newly elected officials, or the ones who want to stay in office, let them know that you want them to co-sponsor House, Resolution 54.
House Resolution 54. Now, give me that information again. They can do what now to try to stop this?
There's a couple of things they can do. Like, one of the things they can do is go on our website, apwu.org. They can go on the website and they can click on New House Resolution, and there's another little prompt that they can click on, and it'll request their zip code. And this way, they can, once they type in their zip code, it's going to show who their state representatives are, their senators are, and they can let them know that they want the House Resolution 54, for them to co-sponsor that bill. And another thing they can do is go to stopstaples.com and sign the petition. And they can make their voice known to the CEO, Ron Sargent. They can let him know that as long as they have the retail counters and offering postal service inside of their stores, they're going to take their business elsewhere. And we have another blow that just happened recently. Now, Staples was a struggling business. But now they want to spend $6.3 billion to merge with Office Depot. And Office Depot had already purchased, merged with Office Max. So that means if you try to go to Office Max or Office Depot, you're going to Staples. So Staples is trying to own all of the chains of stores, so that you don't have a choice who you're spending your money at. That if you try to go to Office Max, that's going to Staples. If you're going to Quill, if you're buying anything from them, you're going to Staples. So we're fighting that right now, that piece of legislation, what they're trying to do, because they tried to do that, I believe, like 17 years ago, and they failed then. They said the American Postal Workers Union announced that the 200,000 member organization would vigorously oppose the merger between Staples and Office Depot. We will urge the Department of Justice and the Federal Trade Commission to block this unlawful merger now, just as we did, like I said, 17 years ago. So that's what our president, Mark Dimmerstein, has said. He's our national president. So we're taking arms because people are supposed to have choices. You're not supposed to have someone own all the businesses that people don't have a choice. And I have another question regarding this merger. If you're a struggling business and you need the retail counters in order to make money, the postal retail counters inside of your stores, and you're closing 225 of your stores, where are you getting the $6.3 billion to buy everybody's business? I mean, to buy Office Depots. I'm like, who's funding this money? Because to me, it's like you're trying to fight the post office because, private industry has been trying for a long time to, privatize the post office because they look at it that it's money in the post office. They say the post office is struggling and they want to privatize the post office. And that part of it is misguided, information, because that's not even true.
Now, the post office currently is owned by the government.
Yes, it's the people's post office. The
post office.
It belongs to you. So, but right now, our former postmaster, instead of going through Congress and going through the procedures, he's preempt them, and he's like, "Well, I'm gonna do what I want to do." So, a lot of things that are moving forward shouldn't really have been happening. And like one misguided thing they keep trying to tell the public is that the Postal Service is struggling, but the Postal Service has lost billions of dollars in recent years, mostly through a mandated payment for future retirees' health care. We're the only government agency that's required to pay 75 years in advance for pre-retirement health care within 10 years. There's no other private business or government agency that's required to pay 75 years in advance. So we made over $1 billion last year. So if we didn't have that mandated that was passed in 2006, then the post office would be a problem. It wouldn't be a problem. We're paying billions of dollars each year into the pre-health care, the future retiree health care. And so that's why the post office appears to be struggling, but the post office isn't struggling.
Wow. If you're just joining us, you're on the Highway, Gospel Highway 11. Fred Blaine with you. And we're talking with Cynthia Haywood about a situation that's going on in our community with the post office being privatized by Staples. And there's information out there, and we're glad that she's sharing today because a lot of information a lot of folks don't know about, but because the post office belongs to you and you and you can stop it from happening. Because what will probably happen is if they make this thing go through, your mail can be sitting in Staples for days. You don't know who's touching it, who's sorting it. You don't know if somebody's going to come in and grab the mail and do something else with it. You don't know because it's not really being protected like it is now. And the parts you were talking about earlier with the mandated training that goes on in the Postal Service, which is so vitally important to be sworn to protect the mail and to make sure things are going to get where they have to go. And if this goes to Staples, it's just, Joe Blow comes in, fills the application up and starts working at Staples, and he's handling your mail.
He's handling your mail, but people are still going to look to, I guess, to hold the post office responsible, but we're not handling the mail. It doesn't become the post office mail, not until that carrier picks that mail up. And right now, the carriers are having difficulties because the mail that's at some of these Staples locations, the manager has the keys to the box, which when the carrier goes in there to pick up the mail, sometimes they can't because the manager is not around. So your mail is still being delayed. Your mail is still sitting. And like, just to get back to even the training, I'm a PEDC facilitator. I train sales and service associates and lead sales and service associates. So I know how intense our training is and what it requires to work these retail counters. I mean, we're dealing with custom packages and you need your custom forms. We're dealing with lost money orders forms, your 6401s, and it's so many things and so much as, that you really need to learn in order to handle the mail. And they're going to have these inexperienced people trying to handle your mail and they don't know what they're talking about. They don't have the experience to know what they're talking about. And frankly, I don't believe they care to know what they're talking about because the training isn't there.
Now, so mail is, as we speak, being dropped off at Staples.
Yes, it is. Staples had 1,536 stores. They had announced October the 7th of 2014 that after they had a trial pilot of 82 stores in San Francisco, that they were going to put a retail counter in all of their stores. Now, if you look around the city, I'm beginning to see some of the signs that are going up. It says UPS, but the main sign is USPS, and you could drop your mail off here. And what it is, the lure is that it's appearing that they're open 7 days a week and you can bring your mail in there, but people don't understand that your mail is not going anywhere. And in order to provide what they're trying to deliver to the American people, is now the mail standard has been lowered.
The mail standard has been lowered. Dropping your mail off at Staples, you don't know when it's going to get out of there.
Well, no, you don't. You really don't.
Because I know if I take mail to a mailbox, I open the door and they tell me inside, when it's going to be picked up. And if it's at a box where I say, this delivery, it's not going to pick this up no time soon. I have the choice to go to another box and get a quicker pickup time.
Right.
But at Staples, dropping your mail off, you don't know.
That mail could sit over the weekend. If the manager isn't at their store, the carrier is unable to pick up the mail. Some of the mail is just not being handled properly. But like I said, the Staples couldn't care less about the mail. They're in the office supplies business. They're not in the mail business. So that's like taking your money to Staples instead of going to the bank. They're not in the banking business, so.
That reminds me, if I want, say, some fried chicken, I go to a place that sells fried chicken. This is what they do. This is all they do. Because if I order it from another place with, they just have it on the menu, 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be what I want because it's just a la carte. It's just so much other stuff. They're not putting that much attention on that particular thing. And so when you go into Staples, they sell everything, and now they're taking your mail too. But is it just dropping off letters, or they're trying to give other services that the post office normally would give?
Well, they are taking in packages, and during Christmas, I believe they were sending coupons to people through the mail. Now, the post office never did that for the United States Postal Service or for our own business. I'm quite sure that they supply the 25% discount that they were giving to those customers, and that was to get the customers used to it might have been 20%. That was to get the customers used to going to Staples to drop off their mail, so to offer the discount to build up customers to come into their business.
Wow, this is just kind of shocking. The U.S. Postal Service poised to make devastating cuts in their service, and by doing this, you'll be taking your mail somewhere else, and the standard of the mail service is going to be lowered, a lower standard of mail service, and virtually eliminating overnight delivery and including first class mail. And it's going to be kind of hard for people to get the stuff that you want them to get in an adequate amount of time. And is there a certain organization that's behind trying to get the word out with this?
Yes, I'm with the American Postal Workers Union, and I'm the lead Philadelphia organizer. And so what we're doing, we're going around and we're outside of Staples, we're boycotting Staples, we're handing out leaflets, and we're trying to let the public know one person at a time. So if people want, like I said, any more information, they can get in contact with our Philadelphia APW. They can contact Cynthia Hayward, at the Union Hall, or they can go on our national website and they can, look into, it really has a lot more information, more in detail. And so right now, our national president, Mark Dimmenstein, he just recently had taken office like last year. So it built up to this. I believe that this was going on for a while. Like when I was working in my office like a few years ago, the first thing that they did to me that was moving more towards privatization, they removed our POS. That's our point of service. That's our computer that we use to make our transactions. And I'm like, why are they coming in, removing the equipment we need to sell the product? Then the next thing they did following that is that they came in and they removed the stamp vending machines. That was a process. Then the next process was to take and have an early out. But then we thought that they were going to replace these employees. They hired what's called PSEs, Postal Support Employees. We thought that they were going to come in and pick up the slack. They were not going to pay them what we were making, and they were not going to be career employees, but we thought that we would have the help. Now, if you go into your local branch, your local post office, it's like 1 or 2 people working inside of these offices. Sometimes we're left in there by ourselves, and we're not getting the help or the relief. So when the customers see the long lines, they get frustrated. So they're like, okay, there's a long line in here all the time. There's only one person in here. What's going on? They're designing it for us to fail at this point. You know, they're understaffing our offices intentionally so that this will drive business to places like Staples. So the customers go there. But if you take your mail there, and then they're not going to give you the quality service, and you're not going to have the security of the mail. Plus, you're not going to have the uniform trained sales and service associate that can actually mail your package properly.
Now, my question is, can this be turned around?
Yes, it can.
Okay.
And that's what this House Resolution 54.
Resolution 54 is to turn this whole thing around.
We want them to get in contact with.
The people have to speak.
The people, it's the people's mail. The people have to speak. And they have a representative, Rosa DeLauro from Connecticut. And she also is she had been working with I think it was the 113th Congress. Now we have the 114th Congress. And she tried to introduce a bill last year that was Protect Overnight Delivery Act. So she's trying to reintroduce that. And there are quite a few of different representatives, bipartisan majority. I think it was like 178 representatives that don't want the mail being delayed. So there are people in Congress that are looking more into this to enact some other bills that we can stop this madness. And we wanted to go back to how it was in 2012, with the mail being delivered properly. But right now they're trying to close 82 plants throughout the country. They're trying to consolidate stations, and they're trying to lessen the service to the American people. So we need the people to speak up.
Speak up right away.
And the only reason why the people haven't been speaking up is because they don't know what's going on. It's not on the news, because unless it's more newsworthy, it's some kind of crime, then the news media really isn't interested. But this affects all of us.
Yes.
This is in all 50 states. Everybody knows a postal worker. Everybody, receives mail at their home 6 days a week. So this affects all of us. But the people, if they don't know, like the word says, people perish for lack of knowledge.
So true.
So this is an example of trying to educate and let people know what's going on, because people want their mail delivered 6 days a week. People want to get, every day we look for our mail in the mailbox.
Yes.
Even if you could get your mail online. I use some of the online services, but I want them still to send me my letter in the mail, my hard copy in the mail.
Yes.
You want your mail. So we want to
That's the next step. I mean, because if they're trying to get people to drop mail off at Staples, is the next step you go to Staples to get your mail?
I hope not. It's all about money. Is all of this is about money. This is all about big business. This is not about, and like, you got to look at the post office. You're making a living wage. We're making living wages so that we can send our kids to college, or you could buy your homes. At Staples, they're paying them like $8.55 an hour. They have a high turnover. They're earning low wages. So it's like right now, it's like the goal is that any job or any kind of career job that people are actually making a living wage is, it's like the politicians, or they go after it and they want to, dismantle these type of jobs. And then when people get on assistance and they need help from the government, then they complain about that.
Yes.
So you have people that are working, that take pride in their jobs. I take pride. I'm proud to be a postal worker. I think it's honorable. I think that we're serving a purpose, and I would hate to see a wonderful something that started 239 years ago for it to go away because of big business and because of money. And just like I said, the former postmaster Pat Donahoe, he just pushed through this. Without the consent of Congress, without talking to the American public because, I guess this is something that he felt as though that he could do. And he, took the task of dismantling the post office. Now he stepped down. Now we have a new postmaster, first female postmaster. Her name is Megan Brennan. So we're hoping that hopefully
she's trying to restore everything.
We hope that she will, but we'll find out. Like she just, came into office recently, So hopefully that she'll see some of the concerns and hopefully would turn it around because this is reversible.
It's good to know it is reversible.
But we need the people to speak up.
We're talking with Cynthia Hayward this afternoon, and it's all about the U.S. Post Office is not for sale and how they're trying to privatize the mail even more. And Staples is involved because Staples is allowing people to drop your mail off there, but you don't know the inside story. It's just like watching a television screen. There's a whole bunch of stuff that goes on the other side you don't know about. You don't know how long your mail is going to sit there. You don't know who's going to be handling your precious mail. And there's some problems with this, and we need you to get the whole story. Get the whole story by going to stopstaples.com. That'll help you get a little more information on how you can be involved. The post office, like Cynthia was saying, has been run by the government, which is the people, for 239 years.
Yes.
And now, because of one man, he's trying to change some things, and he stepped down, left office, getting his retirement, and could care less. And now the word is not even being put out there what's actually going on. And we're trying to educate you this afternoon. What's the name of that bill once again?
It's the House Resolution 54
House
bill.
Resolution 54 bill.
And they can, get in contact, like I said, with their state representatives, their senators, and tell them that they want them to co-sponsor the bill, that we want them to support the bill.
Great. That's going to be a kind of a scary thing for a lot of people. Plus, it's going to will eventually put people out of work.
And that's the main concern. Like people say, well, you have a lot of postal workers that are working there now, and, because of the early outs, and now we got the PSEs, and they already put their time in, but it's about the people who are following you. You want everybody to have an opportunity to be able to live as comfortably as you're living now and have a good job, a good, well-paying job that you can actually buy a house, buy a car, that you don't have to be on some kind of public assistance or something or work two jobs in order to, take care of your family. Right now, it seems like, everything is under attack and they want these well-paying jobs to go away. And it's not even just about the jobs. That's a main concern for as far as a postal worker. But the service is just as important or more important. I'm a customer, too. I want my mail.
Yes.
And I want my mail delivered, and I don't want Staples handling my mail. I want the post office. I go to the post office because I know the post office knows what it's doing. The post office specializes in. I don't want someone handling my mail because you're about the money and you're about the bottom dollar. And now with Staples trying to take over Office Depot, which Office Depot had already taken over Office Max, so that means that they will own everything. You wouldn't even have any type of choices, but they're being funded. They're being funded by someone that's probably wanting to continue dismantling the post office. But it's the people's post office, and the people have a right.
Yes.
The people will speak up once they find out what's going on. It only takes a phone call. Sign a petition. Go to stopstaples.com and, sign a petition. You can read up on it, but it's really, really is very important. Your post office can go away.
It's not going to be the way you know it to be.
No.
And so we need you to do that right away, our traveling friends. Get the whole story at stopstaples.com. And we're looking at, a lot of things are done in a subtle manner. And if you don't stop this, you listening today, you're getting this information probably for the first time. Don't keep it to yourself. Tell your friends, tell your family members what's going on with U.S. Postal Service. And you mentioned about, the only entity that has to pay how many years in advance? 75
years in advance for a pre-retiree health care.
Wow.
We're the only ones, and that's where the debt or it seemed like the losses are coming from, is because of that overwhelming requirement of the post office.
So the post office really is doing better than what they're portraying it to
Oh,
be.
much better.
Yes.
You know, like I said, imagine if you was at a company like the Postal Service that has lost billions of dollars in recent years, mostly through a mandated payment for retiree health care. That's a large weight to carry. And in spite of that, we still made over $1 billion in 2014.
Wow. That's incredible. Well, that's all the time we have this afternoon. Cynthia, thanks so much for sharing with us here on Let's Talk About It PSP. Travelers, get the whole story. StopStaples.com. That's what we have to do, right?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
StopStaples.com.
All right. Have a great afternoon, and thank you for stopping by.
Thank you.